Welcome to Money Chic, Financial Education with Shari Rash, the podcast that's here to empower you with the knowledge and skills you need to master your personal finances and live your best financial life. Thanks for joining me today. This is Shari Rash and Money Chic. Today, I wanted to talk about average net worth goals by age. Now, net worth is not something that we talk about very often. Every person has a net worth, and it's important to understand yours because net worth is a more accurate depiction of your financial stability than just how much money you make. You could make $1 million a year, but have a negative net worth. So the net worth is what you own minus what you owe. So what you own is everything you own, right? So if you own a home, the value of your home is in your net worth. If you have a 401k or an investment account, that's in your net worth. That's what you own. What you owe are all of your debts. So if you own a home, you likely have a mortgage. So that's what you owe. That's a debt. Credit card debt. Student loans, those are all of your debts. So what is your net worth? So take a minute, or as I'm talking, jot down everything you own and an approximate value, and then do the same for what you owe. Subtract what you owe from what you own, and that's your net worth. And it is not common, especially for millennials, people that are just newer into the workforce, younger folks, to have a negative net worth or a very, very low net worth. Don't let it be discouraging. It's the reality of the situation. If you have debt and you don't own much, you're going to have a low or negative net worth, but that's not going to be forever. And go and check out my video and podcast on 7 ways to grow your net worth. Check that out if you're looking for ways to grow your net worth. But today we're going to talk about net worth goals based on your age. So where should you be, or where is the average person at net worth wise based on your age? But first, what is a mistake that can affect your net worth? Never thinking about it. So never even thinking about net worth. After you leave me today, you never give your net worth a second thought. That's a mistake. We often think about what we own, our assets, but we think about how much money we make and try to make more money, or we think about how to pay less in taxes, but we don't really think about the impact our debt has on those things, on the impact our debt has on our income, the impact our debt has on our assets. So not thinking about your net worth is a big mistake, because if you don't think about it, you're not identifying ways for it to increase. So net worth calculation is a very powerful financial planning tool. And when I sit down with my clients, that is one of the first things I talk about is their net worth. And then we set goals on what do we want it to be this time next year? How do we want it to grow? What's a reasonable growth rate of our net worth? And what can we do to have our net worth increase? One of the biggest impacts and quickest ways to increase our net worth is to reduce our debt. So just by reducing debt will positively impact our net worth without saving $1 more. We could save not $1 more from today to this time next year, but if we reduced our debt, our net worth would be higher by the amount that we reduced our debt. So net worth is very important, and you can increase your net worth by 2 ways: save more or reduce your debt. So individuals under 35 we're just getting our bearings, right? We're out of college. We've been working for a while, but we may be starting a family. We may just be purchasing our home, buying a car, which is so expensive. We're doing all of those things, which are expensive milestones, right? So as we're younger adults, we're probably not going to have a very high net worth. But each year that goes by that we don't focus on increasing our net worth, it's just that much harder for the future, for retirement, for a job change, a lifestyle change, what have you. So it's something that we need to focus on. So let's first talk about our 20s. By the time we're in our late 20s, you've likely had your first professional job. You have debts or you're paying towards your debts, especially if you took on student loans. That's now a very real thing. We had a couple year break where we didn't have to pay towards our student loans, but that's back. And I've seen that with my clients, the very real impact student loans have made on our cash flow, right? That's a big bill. And now that we have to pay that again, that reduces our cash flow greatly. So a practical net worth goal in your 20s, so by the age of 30, is to have your annual salary saved in between a savings account and an investment account. So that could be in your retirement account, in your employer sponsored plan, your 401k, your 403b. If you're regularly contributing to that, ideally between that account and your savings account, which is your emergency fund, which should be 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, you should have about your salary. So if your salary is $60,000, ideally between your savings account and your retirement plan through work, you should have about 60,000 saved. So that's the first goal. Over the next 10 years, so from your 20s to 30s, you're going to see a sharp rise in your net worth because that's the age that most people start to buy their homes. More and more millennials have bought homes in the past year than any year before. And we're in our mid 30s, generally speaking. So you'll buy your first home. You'll start to see the power of compounding interest. In our 20s, we are just starting to accumulate, and it may not feel like our money's growing, but come our 30s, now we're starting to see our money grow. We're starting to see the interest that our accounts are earning, the growth from the stock market. So the 30s is an exciting time because that's when we're really starting to see things start to come together and wow, our assets really are accumulating. So the net worth goal by your 30s, by 35, aim to have at least twice your annual income saved in retirement and non-retirement accounts. So we want to save to retirement, but we also want to start in our 30s diversifying the way we save our money. We don't want all of our money socked away in retirement and in the equity of our home. The problem is because in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, your retirement's not accessible. You're going to pay a big penalty, a 10% penalty, plus taxes if you tried to access that money. The equity in your home is not accessible. It is, but it isn't. It's really hard. It's expensive. You don't get as much in a loan or a line of credit as your math is telling you your equity is worth. So we want to look at non-retirement investment options in our 30s because that just allows us to have more flexibility. You could use an after-tax account, brokerage account, what have you, for retirement, or it could also wear the hat of college for our kids or home improvement or a second home or whatever. It can wear a lot of different hats. So a mistake we make is that we just sock as much as possible away in retirement, which again is not a bad thing. But if we're going to sock as much as possible away in retirement, we want to make sure we also have some after-tax accounts that we're saving into as well, purely for the flexibility. So by age 35, aim to have at least twice your annual income saved in retirement and non-retirement accounts. As you approach 40, strive to have 3 times your annual income saved, again, retirement and non-retirement accounts. In our 40s, we're really focusing on retirement. And it sounds kind of crazy because it's like, it feels like we just started working and we're thinking about retirement already. But that's the case. I mean, really, the day we start working after in our big boy, big girl job after we graduate college, we should start saving for retirement. It sounds wild, but it's the reality because we're living a long time in retirement and we need to make sure we have enough money for that. So by the time we're 45, strive for a net worth equal to 4 times your annual salary. So a net worth equal to 4. So now we shifted from how much we have saved to a net worth, because in our 30s and 40s, that's when we're buying homes, we're getting more established, we're eliminating our debt. So a net worth equal to 4 times your annual salary. Again, what you own minus what you owe. According to recent studies, 436,000 is the average net worth of a 45-year-old. By 50, your target net worth should be 6 times your annual income. This sounds like big numbers. This sounds unattainable, right? So it's like, why am I even going to bother? But if you think about it, all the money that we saved in our 20s and 30s, everything, like I said before, the compound interest, everything's just piling on top of each other. On average, the market returns 7% a year. So your investments on average are returning, 7-ish percent. Some years it may be 25%, other years it may be -3, then -7, then +4, but it averages out. So we're averaging out a 7% growth on our investments. Savings accounts now are getting nice rates of return thanks to increased interest rates. So our money is working for us. Even though we may not be so savings focused, your net worth is still growing. Your savings and investments are still growing. But again, we want to save for retirement, but then also have other accounts that we're in saving into to provide that flexibility. So your late 40s and 50s, that's when we're really focusing on retirement, because once we get our retirement savings in a good place, that's when you can kind of take a step backwards and say, okay, my retirement's in a good place. I need to focus on other things now, mainly sending my kids to college, which is so expensive. So if you work on getting your retirement savings and outside savings in a good place, you then can kind of take your foot off the gas, because you're going to have other big expenses in your late 40s and 50s. So retiring requires careful planning in your 20s. And again, that sounds crazy that we're going to be thinking about retirement in our 20s, but by age 54, your net worth should be around 833,000. That's the goal. That's the average. So between 55 and 64, we're starting again to take our foot off the gas. Our investments may not be as aggressive, because we can't afford the volatility that more aggressive investments can bring us. Again, our children may still be in college. They're now young adults. We could be helping them with other things as far as purchasing a home or grandkids and all of that stuff. So getting your retirement in a good place when you're middle aged is great, because as you're approaching retirement, it doesn't have to be this stressful feeling of I have to save, I have to do these things, and I have such a short amount of time to do it. And then when you're in your 60s, 70s, that's when once you retire, we're transitioning to the decumulation phase, right? So when we're pre-retirement, we're just focused on accumulating. We're accumulating our money. We're focusing on that. We're making moves that our future self will thank us for. Then when you're in your late 60s, 70s, whenever that is time that you do retire, now we're taking the fruits of our labor and decumulating it. We're spending it. So in your 65 to 74 range, Retirement is likely started. You're living on the funds you've accumulated over the past 30 years. This may be the point where your net worth hits an all-time high. This may be the highest point because you're close to finish accumulating. You're not there yet, but you haven't yet started to decumulate. And that's where average net worths for 65 to 74-year-olds are about 1.2 million. Then come the 70s. Like I said, you're retired, you're starting to decumulate. The average net worth for individuals 70 and older is $977,000. So I just threw a lot of numbers at you. Some of them may be really big. Some may feel unattainable, but it's not. As long as you do make the moves now to increase your net worth, and check out my podcast episode on strategies to increase your net worth, you can get there. But by having a saving strategy, paying yourself first, utilizing employer-sponsored retirement plans, especially if they're providing you a match, making tax smart decisions so then you're not paying so much of your money to the government when you do retire. By making those decisions and moves now, that'll just help you be better positioned in the future. If you have questions on how to grow your net worth, schedule a call with me. Visit my website, greenwaywealthadvisory.com, and let's start the conversation. And we can work together as a team to, one, identify your net worth now, identify then ways to increase your net worth, and set net worth target goals. And then I'm your accountability partner as to implementing those and making sure it becomes a reality. Thanks so much for joining me today, and we'll talk soon. Ever wondered how to secure your financial future? Introducing Financial Foundations, the ultimate financial planning program. Take control of your money, plan for the future, and build a secure financial foundation. Join us on a journey to financial freedom. Visit greenwaywealthadvisory.com today to start your path to a brighter financial future.